So here is my 5x5 round multi-floor elevator, and this is based off of Dr. Plasma's 5x5 elevator, round elevator, and I wanted to make it multi-floor, and here it is. It took me a while to get this done. I started it about 6 months ago, and here it is. Finally was able to finish it. 3x3 doors. I don't know of any other elevator that has 3x3 doors. So this worked out well. This is a door that I came up with a while ago. Pretty basic, simple, easy build, but it seems to work perfect here. But I had to do a couple things in order to make this elevator work. All right, this elevator is 13 floors. You know, it's got your call. You can ride it. It's pretty quick. All floors are exactly the same except for floor 1 and floor 13. Every floor is exactly the same. The only variation is you've got these barrels here that are different per floor. You've got another barrel that's behind this comparator here. You've got one here for the call function, and then you also have a decorated pot over here to create this filter here. Other than that, everything's exactly the same. And I had to come up with this design here of a triple piston extender to catch one of the observers to help this thing fly. I'll show you that in a second. Let's just call the elevator down. You can see it's got some lights that tell you where the elevator's at in travel. And there you go. Awesome. Okay, so this here is a triple piston extender, which I came up with. So this needs to reach that observer there. And this piston needs to reach this observer at the same time to prime the elevator. And then this piston hits that observer and the elevator flies. All right, and to get the timing was a little bit difficult because these two go at the same time. And then immediately after that, of course, the bottom one goes and the elevator flies. But when you're up a floor, or when you're up off the first floor, I should say, I had to throw in this double piston extender here because this elevator needs solid ground to take off. And at the bottom of the elevator, if you've seen a couple of my other elevators, I've got a piston here, and as you know, when this piston is extended, it becomes immovable. So in order for this to fly, we've got to prime the top of the elevator, which is this one and this one. And then if you're going to launch off the second floor or higher, so you've got this and this that prime the elevator, and then you've got this that comes out and holds the bottom of the elevator, and then you've got this that comes out and fires the elevator. So all that happens, and the elevator doesn't even skip a beat. So it worked out pretty well after a bunch of, trial and error. And then we've got this here, which is a couple of things. This is the upper lock. So if the elevator is traveling up, those come out and stop the elevator at your floor that you've chosen. Or it also holds the elevator in place while the elevator is sent down by this piston. So that's a couple of functions here. And this also has a couple of functions here. The first one I mentioned, this double piston extender helps the elevator launch. And it also will extend and it'll stop the elevator at your desired floor when you're going down. So that's what that purpose is. Let's see here. Over here we've got, so you've got your basic, I'll just run through it quickly here. You've got your basic transmitter, which is in here. All right, transmitter comes off of your lectern here, carries the signal through, and this is your your on-off switch, allows the signal to go through, and then it goes through this counter over here, and it gets filtered down here through this this stuff here, and it determines if the elevator is going to go up or down. All right, and then sends signals over to this control tower that's in the back. All right, and it gets dispersed from there, and then over here on this side we have a receiver, which I have refined pretty well. This green circuit is the receiver, and right off of the receiver is a filter, which chooses your floor. And this, depending on where the elevator is at, which is determined by this block, if the elevator is down there, so all upper locks have to be locked. So the diamond block is going to be to the left, which will lock the upper lock, and when the elevator travels, it'll switch. So everything is tied in together. This target block here has to do with the call function. So let's see here. The doors, in order to make the doors work, over here you have a torch that activates when you press this button in here. Okay, so if you choose the floor on the lectern, push that button, okay, that activates that torch, and that torch allows the signal to go through by pulling this redstone block back. But it also works the doors, and it allows the doors to close so the elevator can launch. All right, so that's how that works. However, when you call the elevator, say I'm going to call it to floor 2, this torch does not work because you're launching the elevator from a different source. So what I had to do, I came up with these slide bars. All right, you've got the bottom slide bar, which works when you ride the elevator, and you've got the upper slide bar, which works when you call the elevator. So what happens is when you call the elevator, a signal goes into this control tower in the back, and it goes through this orange circuit here. All right, I'll give you just a quick overview. And then what it does is it pushes the bar across. The signal goes through this orange block, and then it creates the door to close. So when you call the elevator, that's the only time that upper bar works. So let's call it to 2, and you'll just see how that bar works. Pretty cool, rather quick. Now, I'll always love that piston sound. So what happens as well is that bar got reset as well, and this is a quick reset right here between this slab and this power. This observer fires this piston and resets the bar. You've got indicators here that tell you what floor you're on, but these lights also blink when the elevator travels, so you know where it is while it's traveling. And you've got a safety feature here, like you can call the elevator here because it's not on that floor, but when the elevator is on a particular floor, you cannot call it because it's not engaged. And I also have this one here now. If you push this button, you can ride the elevator, but when you're on a floor where the elevator is not, you can't. The elevator won't do anything. Does that matter? I don't know when you're going to be in here like this. However, when I was building it, it helped. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, there's a lot to this elevator. There's a lot of timings to make it work. Fun to figure out. Uh, let's see, what else we have here? We have our control tower, which, like I said, runs pretty much everything. What we have off of the doors, so the door needs to be powered for it to be closed. All right, and when it's powered, there's a memory circuit that turns off. But when the power changes state, depending on where the elevator is at, when the elevator reaches a floor, this memory circuit will turn on. And as I was building this, I figured out how to scale this memory cell down a lot. So that'll probably be in my next build. But what happens is when the elevator takes off, all right, this redstone block will be put in place and it'll actually shut the memory cell off. And then when the elevator reaches a floor, the memory cell will kick on. And when the memory cell kicks on, this piston is activated as well as this piston here is activated. And these are both your, so now we make a closed circuit. So if you call the elevator either up or down, it'll send a signal through these purple lines. All right, and it'll send a signal either to send the elevator up or down. So, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. What we'll do is I guess we'll ride it up and just kind of show you how the locks work. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go to 7. All right, right now we're on 2. And we just pull it up. And as you can see, the locks are already out. All right, and then in here, the locks are activated by this redstone block, which when filtered, this is the floor 7, what we chose. Elevator's on the way up. This is going to reset. Causes the door to open. All right, indicator light comes on. Memory cell's in place. And everything's ready if you want to call it. And the upper lock gets reset as well back to a neutral state, which is all my elevators go in a neutral state, so you can do whatever you want with the elevator, either call it or ride it. But then we'll quickly ride the elevator down and show you what goes on down below. Let's see. So if we go to floor 2 or 3, let's go to 3. All right, and then you'll see that this redstone block came out. All right, and now it's going to lock the elevator because it's going to turn that piston immovable. And then once that happens, that gets reset. So there the elevator sits on floor 3. All right, there it is. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, like I said, there's a lot more to it. Timings of how the call function works and how this tower in the back works. But I'll put a world downloaded in the description. You could check it out. And it'd be interesting to know your thoughts on this elevator. Some things are unavoidable. So you just need to have them, and it's going to take up space and whatever. But otherwise, I've got some cool things going on, and that's it. That's Dr. Plasma's 5x5 round in multi-floor form. And here it is. So thanks to him for doing this elevator. Here it is. Enjoy. Peace out.